This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning. It's Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump has high praise for Germany during his meeting with the Chancellor, discussing the war with Iran, but harsh words for two European allies. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
President Trump says someone from within the Iranian regime might be the best choice to take power.
We had in mind the dead.
Ed Donahue, Washington.
Confusion and accusations of voter suppression in the Texas primaries. I'm Clayton Neville.
A dive and a little recovery for the markets yesterday on a promise the U.S. Navy will escort threatened oil tankers. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
NBA player Luke Cornett has called on the Atlanta Hawks to cancel their upcoming collaboration with Magic City. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
The father of a teenager who killed 4 people at his high school, also guilty of the crime. All ahead on America in the Morning. On Tuesday, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz met with President Trump at the White House as Trump thanked the German people for their support with the American airstrikes in Iran. But the president also had some criticisms for 2 key European allies. John Stolnis has details from Washington.
Speaking in the Oval Office with reporters, Merz declared the strikes on Iran by the U.S. and Israel to be the right thing.
We are supporting the United States and Israel to get rid of this terrible terrorist regime.
The president says much of Iran's ability to fight back against U.S. and Israeli warplanes has been eliminated.
The big scale heading goes now. They no longer have air protection. They no longer have any detection facilities at all left. They're going to be in for a lot of hurt.
Trump was asked if he agreed with Secretary of State Rubio's assertion on Monday that the U.S.'s hand was forced because they feared Iranian retaliation in response to a coming Israeli strike.
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack if we didn't do it.
Trump says most European allies have been helpful, but said Spain has been terrible.
Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to. But they were unfriendly. And so I told him we don't want to. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people.
The president claims Spain is not pulling their fair share towards NATO funding and is cutting off all trade with Spain. Trump also had unkind words for the leadership in the UK, arguing British Prime Minister Keir Starmer should abandon a deal that would transfer sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, claiming the joint U.S.-UK base there is important given the logistics of the Iran conflict.
Somebody came and took it away from them, and it's taken 3-4 days for us to work out where we can land there. It would have been much more convenient landing there as opposed to flying many extra hours. So we are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
John Stolnis, Washington.
In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia intercepted 2 Iranian cruise missiles and 9 drones, and Israel also shot down a number of missiles and drones fired from both Iran and Lebanon. 4 of the 6 U.S. soldiers killed during a drone strike in Kuwait have been identified. All were part of the same Army Reserve unit from Iowa. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports there's only speculation so far as to who will emerge as the new leader of Iran, and there's still serious issues with trying to evacuate American citizens from several Middle East nations.
President Trump says someone from within the Iranian regime might be the best choice to take power once the military campaign there is over. The president says the attacks on Iran have limited the leadership possibilities.
The people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince of Iran's last Shah, is trying to position himself for a return.
Some people like him, and we haven't been thinking about too much about that.
The president said somebody that's there in Iran that's currently popular, if there is such a person, would be more appropriate. He doesn't want the worst-case scenario in Iran.
Somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous
The war in Iran is leaving Americans in the Middle East in limbo. The State Department has been forced to close several embassies to the public, shut down at least one consulate, order the departure of embassy staff and families from at least 6 nations, and advise Americans in 14 countries to leave immediately, despite the war closing major airports.
We need to have contact information for Americans that need assistance. They have to register with us.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says as options to get out open up, they need to be able to call these people.
We have identified and continue to identify charter flights, military flight options, and expanded commercial flight options.
The department says more than 9,000 Americans safely returned from the Middle East, many of them without government assistance. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Son kills, dad convicted. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. We do have the risk for severe thunderstorms today. With details, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A warm front sweeping northward in association with a storm setting up over the Midwest has brought in warm and moist air that will continue to funnel into places from eastern Texas northward to near and right along the western part of the Ohio River Valley as a cold front becomes more well-defined through the day today and starts to track eastward into that primed air mass. The clash of those air masses will help to spark thunderstorms that may be able to turn severe today and into tonight from east central Texas, north and east into western Kentucky, bringing hazards such as large hail, strong wind gusts of at least 60 to 70 miles per hour, and even the potential for some tornadoes. The high amount of moisture in place will be wrung out to some extent by repeated showers and storms through the day tomorrow, with storm total rainfall since Tuesday likely to add up to 2 to 4 inches from south central Missouri right through the I-70 corridor in Ohio, with at least an inch or two of rain from Dallas to Kansas City, much of Illinois and Indiana to the south of I-80, even getting into northern West Virginia, northern Kentucky, and northwestern Arkansas. There may be some thunder today without the severe weather risk from northeastern Missouri through central Indiana, and some occasional rain extends from there right to the Jersey shore, but that disturbance provides the only active weather in the eastern half of the nation, outside of a few showers toward the Florida peninsula, with much of the area from the Great Lakes through the Dakotas, southwest, and interior northwest dry. That leaves the west active weather for the Pacific Northwest today, where a new storm brings more showers and enough cold air to help support some areas of mountain snow as well. In Salem, Oregon, today brings clouds and showers, the high 53. For Greenville, Mississippi, clouds break for enough sun for the high to approach the record of 84 from back in 1923. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Primaries were held Tuesday in 3 states, including Texas. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports from Dallas.
In North Carolina, former Governor Roy Cooper, a Democrat, and the former Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley are headed for a high-profile race for a Senate seat. In Arkansas, Senator Tom Cotton won the Republican nomination for Senate. Further south in Texas, the Secretary of State's office says that early voting brought 1.4 million Democratic voters, and around 1.2 million voted early in the Republican primary. Harris County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth.
Turnout at this level is typically only seen during presidential primaries.
3 Texas counties, to include Dallas County, which typically favors Democrats, had the hours at the polls extended by 2 hours after a judge ruled that confusion prevented voters from casting ballots. A number of voters in the county went to the wrong polling place because the Dallas County GOP recently pushed for and achieved voting at specific polling locations opposed to countywide voting centers, as was the case during early voting. Former Congressman and congressional primary winner Colin Ulrich.
So the claim, though, here was that this was to prevent voter fraud. That's outrageous.
Ulrich went on to win his congressional race. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, in a tight Senate race, said the precinct voting is voter suppression and told her supporters results would take a while.
The Supreme Court also said that they are to separate any votes out that came in after 7 p.m.
In the Senate race, Paxton and Cornyn are headed for a runoff in the GOP, but Cornyn had a lead in a close race. Eyes now on President Trump to see who he'll endorse, Cornyn or Paxton. Democrat James Tallarico, meanwhile, leads Crockett statewide, but that race will likely be tied up in the courts before results are official. I'm Clayton Neville.
A Georgia man has been convicted in his connection to a 2024 high school shooting by his son that killed 2 students and 2 teachers. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Colin Gray, whose teenage son is accused of killing 2 students and 2 teachers at Appalachia High School northeast of Atlanta in 2024, has been convicted of second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter, along with all other charges. Gray is one of a number of parents across the country who have been charged after their children were accused in fatal shootings. Prosecutors say Gray gave his son Colt access to a gun and ammunition, even after warnings about his son's mental health, and say that Colin Gray knew that his son was obsessed with school shooters, even having a shrine in his bedroom to Nicholas Cruz, the shooter in the 2018 high school massacre in Parkland, Florida. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
When we return on America in the Morning, Iran threatens oil tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz. After these messages. With Wednesday business headlines, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a plunge and then a partial recovery for the major stock indexes yesterday. But only the Dow's still in the green for the year. The Dow had been down 1,200 points. It closed down only 400. Investors are bracing for more volatility. Defiance ETF's Sylvia Jablonski says, buckle up on CNBC.
Now I think it's going to be a day-by-day thing. I think it's going to be a lot of volatility before we know how long this is going to go on. And investors are reacting.
Here's Blank Shine Wealth's Robert Shine on CNBC.
Right now, the market is absolutely selling off for good reason because of all of the uncertainty that's building up, and it's on the oil trade as well.
U.S. crude oil up another 3% yesterday, more than $73 a barrel. American drivers really got hit yesterday morning. They went to fill up. Prices at the pump had soared an average of 11 cents a gallon overnight, according to AAA. Oil tankers are sitting near the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East, not moving. Iran threatens to attack anything trying to go through. President Trump saying the government will provide both insurance for those oil tankers and it will use the U.S. Navy to escort them.
Yeah, the administration finally seems to realize that they have an energy issue on their hands. Prices coming up when midterm elections are going to start up. What we've been hearing now is they're actually taking this really seriously. Having U.S. naval ships guard tankers that are traversing the Straits of Hormuz, which is obviously a huge choke point for oil tanker deliveries out of the Persian Gulf.
Politico's Ben Lefebvre on CNBC. Here's Neuberger and Berman's Joe Amato on CNBC.
Certainly a spike in oil prices will be inflationary, right? Every $10 increase in the price of oil is a 25-cent increase at the gas pump. So the longer that duration occurs, the higher inflation will be.
Yes, you're already feeling higher prices at the pump, but how about if you didn't buy that spring break plane ticket yet before the U.S. attacked Iran? Are airfares soaring now because jet fuel just got more expensive?
A spike in oil prices and fuel prices will get passed on to consumers. They're going to see it show up in their tickets, but it is unlikely to be immediate because airlines have already purchased their fuel at a set price.
That's CNBC.com's Leslie Josephs. Target shares soared 6% yesterday. Target CEO Michael Fidelki told CNBC's Sarah Eisen the struggling chain is hiring and raising pay.
We're going to invest more payroll in the stores because we know we have to equip our teams to have the resources they need to deliver an incredible store experience.
You're going to be hiring more or paying more?
Both.
Both.
On today's watch list, we get earnings from Abercrombie & Fitch and American Eagle Outfitters, plus Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. And the World Baseball Classic starts tonight.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, a new burden at the Labor Department as the Labor Secretary is accused of wrongdoing. After these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. Trouble in the Labor Department. Two top aides of Labor Secretary Lori Chavez de Remer were forced out amid internal investigations of misconduct claims within the department. The New York Times is reporting that Chavez de Remer's chief of staff and deputy chief of staff were given 24 hours to resign after the White House told Labor Department leaders to fire them. This, as the New York Post reported in January on a whistleblower complaint that claimed Chavez de Remer allegedly drank on the job, reported she was having an affair with a member of her security detail, and that she used department resources for personal trips, allegations still being investigated. Sports teams have promotions all the time, but an unusual one in Atlanta is under scrutiny. A former NBA player is among those criticizing an NBA team's upcoming promotion with a strip club. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
NBA player Luke Cornett has called on the Atlanta Hawks to cancel their upcoming collaboration with Magic City. The San Antonio Spurs center wrote that allowing the March 16th event during the Hawks game against the Orlando Magic, quote, would reflect poorly on us as an NBA community, specifically in being complicit in the potential objectification and mistreatment of women in our society. Cornett says he and other NBA players were surprised by the team's decision to promote the adult entertainment club. The Hawks announced the promotion last week. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Coming up this half hour.
Kristi Noem is making her first congressional appearance since the shooting deaths of two protesters by government officers in Minneapolis. I'm Ed Donahue.
The Trump administration tried to kill New York's congestion pricing. A judge just put an end to that. I'm Joan Jones.
Suspected Iranian cyber attacks on the rise. I'm the new old tech guy, Chuck Palm.
A screenwriter has been chosen for the Game of Thrones movie. I'm Kevin Carr.
The latest on Iran, finding ways to get American citizens out of harm's way. Fighting erupts east of Iran. A California primary with too many candidates. And the road rage killer in Virginia worked for the government. Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Look for the Midwest to receive a heavy amount of rain today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A storm continuing to take shape over the center of the nation brings with it another round of rain shifted mainly toward the eastern and southern U.S., with a warm front lifting slowly northward across the Ohio Valley and toward the southern part of the Great Lakes region, keeping plenty of occasional steady rain and drizzle in place from central Missouri eastward through mainly southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, as well as much of West Virginia and eventually southern Pennsylvania, even getting back into the southern half or so of New Jersey, while the precipitation turns more intermittent and showery from Delaware and the nation's capital toward northern Kentucky, right along the Ohio River to points south and west. While the risk for thunder stretches from southwestern Ohio into central Indiana and Illinois, the highest chance for any thunderstorms to turn severe will be near and ahead of the path of the cold front associated with this storm. AccuWeather severe weather experts say that this means a zone from western Kentucky and far southwestern Indiana through southern Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, much of Arkansas, and mainly northeastern Texas, but including both the Dallas and Austin areas, faces the chance for storms today and tonight that may bring damaging winds, large hail, and some tornadoes. Some spotty showers also fire up over mostly the Atlantic side of the Florida Peninsula today, but the rather warm southeast and nice New England have a dry day to come for today, as will many places from the upper Midwest right through the southwestern states. The Northwest does turn more active, though, with the latest storm continuing to spread in that cooler air, along with showers of rain and mountain snow from Washington to the Idaho-Montana border, and southward from there into northern portions of Nevada, and even getting into California as the day wears on. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Pentagon has identified 4 of the 6 U.S. service members killed in an Iranian drone strike in Kuwait. The 4 soldiers identified were all assigned to the 103rd Sustainment Command, an Army Reserve unit out of Iowa. American embassies in Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait have all been closed. The U.S. military reports they've destroyed 17 Iranian ships and a submarine. An Iranian ballistic missile hit an air base in Qatar, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. After Iran launched more missiles at Israel, the Israeli military began a broad range of airstrikes in Iran, targeting launch sites and aerial defense systems. With no notice of the start of the war, people have found themselves stranded in a number of nations. Correspondent Julie Walker reports on Europeans and Americans stuck overseas. Audio courtesy the UK's Sky News.
I had another flight that was supposed to be a different flight that was supposed to be on Thursday, and it was canceled. And then the soonest that it could be rebooked for was the 10th of March.
As we were waiting for the plane, we had an alert on our phone saying to get away from the windows for potential missile attack. So
everyone kind of like hunkered into the middle, and it was all very scary.
Really, really stressful, really, really tense. Witnessing sort of missiles exploding above. We witnessed the port, a warehouse at the port go up in flames because of falling drones.
Matt Carwell from New Hampshire is stuck in Dubai with his wife. He was doing a phone interview with the AP, talking from his hotel balcony about how he felt relatively safe because of the UAE's air defense when a fighter jet flew overhead.
UAE government has done, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a fighter jet that is just fighter jet. I can hear it overhead.
He's in the aviation industry and is staying near the Fairmont Hotel, the site of a weekend missile strike from Iran.
And we were actually sitting on the beach at our hotel when the Fairmont got hit, and you could feel the concussion on your chest.
The State Department is urging Americans to get out. Carwell says while some are driving hours to other UAE airports to try and fly out, they're waiting for Dubai flights, which for them may not be until March 10th or later. I'm Julie Walker.
According to the flight tracking website FlightAware, there are still only very limited to no takeoffs and landings at airports in Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, and Tel Aviv. With no ships traversing the Strait of Hormuz, oil is barely moving out of the Middle East, and that's impacting the price at the pump here at home. AAA reports the nationwide average price of a gallon of unleaded gas spiked to $3.11, up 12 cents in one day, the largest one-day increase since 2005. Analysts are warning that gas prices will jump even higher. A gallon of gas now costs more than it did on this same day 1 year ago. In Oklahoma, which still has the lowest gas prices in the nation, the price at the pump increased 15 cents from Monday to Tuesday. The situation in the Middle East isn't just limited to Iran. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports on another flashpoint as the other skirmishes intensify at the border areas of Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan.
Pakistan's Information Minister Atullah Tara says Afghan ground forces have carried out ground assaults on Pakistani military positions at 16 locations along the southwestern border and fired on 25 locations in the border regions to the northwest, leaving over 60 members of the Afghan forces and one Pakistani soldier dead. There's been no immediate comment from Kabul on the Pakistani figures. Meanwhile, Stefan Dujarric, spokesman for the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, told the media he's concerned numbers of Afghans may want to exit Iran where they are because of the intensifying war.
The UN mission warns that on Afghanistan's western border with Iran, a potential increase in number of Afghan returnees is also anticipated, which will, as you can imagine, further stretch very scarce humanitarian supplies.
Pakistan's described its operation as an open war with Afghanistan, alarming the international community. The border areas remain a stronghold for militant organizations, including Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem faced daunting scrutiny during a Senate hearing on Capitol Hill. Ed Donahue reports the senators took aim at the DHS handling of events in Minnesota, as well as the number of deportations and arrests.
It's because you're going into our schools. You're terrorizing our children. You're detaining children. You're arresting Americans. You're breaking into our homes. You're terrorizing our streets.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is making her first congressional appearance since the shooting deaths of 2 protesters by government officers in Minneapolis.
Madam Secretary, under your leadership, the Homeland Security Department has been devoid of any moral compass or respect for the rule of law. Without hesitation or remorse, DHS agents have wreaked havoc in our cities.
In the Senate, Noem defended her agency's treatment of immigrants caught up in enforcement activities.
We've worked at targeting the worst of the worst.
Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE officer in January. Later that month, Customs and Border Protection officers in Minneapolis opened fire on Alex Preddy. Minnesota Democrat Amy Klobuchar asked Noem about comments she made immediately after both of their deaths that cast them as the aggressors.
Do you have anything you want to say to Alex Preddy's parents?
We were relying in the hours after that incident that was so horrific on information we were getting from the ground from our agents.
I just asked if you had anything you wanted to say to the parents or to the family of Renee Good after you called them domestic terrorists.
I can't even imagine what they have gone through in the loss of their son and the loss of their family members.
But how about specifically calling them domestic terrorists without any evidence of that?
Sir, ma'am, I did not call him a domestic terrorist. I said it appeared to be an incident of.
I think the parents saw it for what it was.
Homeland Security has said in the past Democrats encourage people to oppose officers as they try to make arrests.
The latest Democrat-led shutdown of DHS is reckless, it's unnecessary, and it undermines the American national security, and it harms the men and women who work at DHS and their families.
I'm Ed Donahue.
When we return on America in the Morning, war rages in Iran. Here at home, cyber attacks increase by Iranian sympathizers. After these messages. As voters went to the polls for primaries in Texas, Arkansas, and North Carolina Tuesday, in California, it's an election with too many candidates. California Democrat Party Chair Rusty Hicks is making a rare public appeal to struggling gubernatorial candidates ahead of the primary election filing deadline, saying if you don't have a viable path to victory in November, don't run. Democrats are concerned the number of candidates risk splitting the Democratic vote. California's top 2 primary systems sends the 2 candidates who receive the most votes into the June primary, regardless of party, to the general election in November. The Democrat field includes Congressman Eric Swalwell, former Representative Katie Porter, and hedge fund founder Tom Steyer, among others. On the Republican side, conservative commentator Steve Hilton and County Sheriff Chad Bianco are in the lead. Recent polling had Hilton and Bianco in the top 3 in an 11-candidate field. Now to the East Coast, where driving in certain parts of Manhattan will still cost extra because of congestion pricing, thanks to a New York judge's ruling on Tuesday. Joan Jones reports on a Trump administration lawsuit turned away by a court.
Judge Louis Lyman said the effort by the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, to unilaterally scrap the congestion tolls wasn't legal because the governor, Kathy Hochul, had already signed an agreement with the federal government to do so years earlier.
The court determined that they violated the Administrative Procedure Act and acted arbitrary and capricious to try to cut off our funding. So here's the good news, New Yorkers. The cameras are staying on.
Congestion pricing is a system that charges drivers extra fees for using certain roads during peak travel times to reduce congestion and also to raise funds for public transportation. Secretary Duffy on Fox News.
People stand against the wall in the subway because they don't want to get pushed in front of the tracks. Yeah. So if you want to have people take the subway, make it clean, make it safe. Yeah. But by the way, I like freedom. Let me drive my car in if I want.
The Transportation Department said in a letter that congestion pricing has made federally funded roads inaccessible for commuters who can't afford to pay the extra fee. The department's lawyers said they're reviewing their legal options, including appealing yesterday's decision. I'm Joan Jones.
A surprising twist to a story we reported Monday. Virginia State Police report the man who attacked other drivers with a knife following a multi-car accident on the Capitol Beltway outside of Washington, D.C., killing one woman and a dog and injuring several others, was an employee of the U.S. State Department. A state police officer was forced to fire at 32-year-old Jared Yamato in self-defense after he lunged at the officer with a knife. Yamato had been working for the State Department for just over 1 year. Police have ruled out terrorism, describing the incident as road rage. Shifting gears, the war in Iran appears to have hit home with a reported cyber attack by Iranian sympathizers in New York. Chuck Palm, the new old tech guy, has the story.
The U.S. financial system is on high alert, not just for market swings from the Middle East, but for a potential wave of cyber attacks that are tied to the escalating conflict with Iran. According to a report from Reuters, major banks and financial firms are ramping up monitoring after the killing of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, in the U.S.-Israeli airstrike last weekend. That strike sparked a broader conflagration, and history shows these geopolitical flashpoints often trigger a surge in cyber activity. U.S. intelligence has assessed that the Iranian-linked hacktivists could launch low-level attacks, especially distributed denial of service or DDoS attacks. That's where hackers flood a website or a server with junk traffic to knock it offline, disrupting access without stealing the data outright. The financial system is critical infrastructure, and payments, trading, platforms, and treasury markets have all been top targets for DDoS attacks in recent years. They've also seen spikes during the past conflicts like with Russia-Ukraine and Hamas-Israel. Todd Klessman, Managing Director for Financial Services and Cyber at SIFMA, said the sector remains ready to respond, especially when global cybersecurity risks are heightened. Stay on top of tech at thenewoldtechguy.com. I'm Chuck Palm.
Midweek Sports with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Tuesday was Tag Day in the NFL, with franchise tags issued, or not, to potential free agents. 4 players were tagged. Jets running back Breece Hall, joining Cowboys receiver George Pickens and Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts, while the Colts gave their transition tag to quarterback Daniel Jones while he recovers from an Achilles injury. No tag for Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker, the Seahawks running back, Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson, Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum, and others can all sign as free agents starting next week. The Cardinals also told quarterback Kyler Murray they will release him next week. On the hardwood, the Cavaliers tripped the Pistons 113-109. That allowed the Thunder to move back into the NBA's top spot with a 116-108 win over the Bulls, which had just snapped an 11-game losing streak on Sunday. Spurs slammed the Sixers 131-91 to get back on track after their 11-game win streak ended Sunday. Coach Mitch Johnson.
Our defensive pressure and activity was at a really good level, and then we passed the ball and played with each other and made each other better.
The longest current winning run belongs to the Hornets, 5 in a row after buzzing the Mavericks. Heat melted the Nets. That's 9 straight L's for Brooklyn. College hoops, number 5 Florida flattened Mississippi State. Top 10 upsets, number 9 Nebraska never led at UCLA, while 10th ranked Texas Tech lost at home to TCU. Meantime, number 19 Miami of Ohio ran their record to 30-0, beating Toledo 74-72. NHL, the Avalanche crushed the Ducks 5-1. Nathan McKinnon with an assist to ensure his 4th straight 100-point season. Stars kept pace, fanning the Flames 6-1 for their 10th win in a row. That's a new franchise record. That's Wednesday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, no snow in the West leads to drought, and Game of Thrones reigns. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. In the east, parts of Vermont and New York received over 7 feet of snow this winter, while in California, a 4-day blizzard dumped over 9 feet of snow in the Tahoe area last month. But while California received so much snow, many states in the West wound up with far less than usual. And that's causing concerns for potential drought conditions and water shortages in some western states ahead of spring and summer. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has a closer look.
A record snow drought in the western U.S. is raising concern for a spring of water shortages and wildfires. With the exception of California, most western states are experiencing the worst snow drought in decades, not because of dry conditions, but really warm temperatures that change snow to rain.
I've never seen anything like it.
That's National Snow and Ice Data Center Director Mark Serraz. He's been in Colorado for almost 40 years and says
the mountain snowpack is starting to shrink. The snowpack doesn't really develop as early in the autumn as it used to.
The snow cover is about 1/3 of normal, and snow depth in places like Oregon are far below the old record. The snow drought is raising concerns about an increased threat of wildfires this spring and summer, as well as less water for agriculture and other needs. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Fans of Game of Thrones rejoice. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr says a movie based on the fantasy TV series is officially in the works.
There has been some movement in long-awaited Game of Thrones news.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
And winter is coming. Not just winter this time, a movie is coming. And now that project, which has been in early development at Warner Brothers since 2024, has secured a writer. Page 6 reports that House of Cards showrunner Beau Willimon will write the screenplay. This is not the first spin-off from Game of Thrones, which ran on HBO from 2011 to 2019 and won 59 Emmys.
The Targaryen who sits the Iron Throne is not just a king or a queen.
The prequel, House of Dragon, has been renewed for a 3rd and 4th season on HBO Max.
And in every man, there are many men. So be brave. Be just.
And A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms premiered on the streamer this January. Plot details for the movie have not been announced, though Page 6 reports the story will take place 300 years before the television series and follow Aegon I, who launched the Targaryen dynasty. In addition to running House of Cards, Willimon was nominated for an Emmy for writing on the iconoclastic Star Wars series Andor on Disney+.
I need all the heroes I can get. For the greater good.
It is unclear how the potential Paramount-Skydance merger might affect this project. However, Paramount CEO David Ellison has said the company plans to allow HBO to continue to work independently. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.